Hey guys, it's Jayhawker77. I've been asked by quite a few of you to post a video on how I wet tumble my 9mm brass. It's a fairly simple process, and the results are just astounding. You can get the inside, the primer pockets, and the outside looking almost brand new. So I'm going to take you through the tools of what you need and some other optional accessories that may make your job just a little bit easier. So let's get started. Alright guys, so here's the tools that I use when I wet tumble. Obviously you're going to need some brass. I like to go ahead and decap mine and get it all ready. You'll also need a tumbler. Many options out there for you. I like the Harbor Freight Chicago dual drum rotary rock tumbler. Basically each one of these will hold 3 pounds worth of total media. That includes your brass, your stainless steel pins, and water, so you can do a total of 6 total pounds there. Scale of some sort. I like to weigh everything so that way I don't burn out the motor and overload it. A colander. This makes sifting the water out after you dump your tumblers out in it. A sandwich baggie. I'll show you what that's for a little bit later. You can use either the Lemmy Shine Rinse, which is a liquid, or the Lemmy Shine Original, which is the granular. Dawn dishwashing soap. A quarter teaspoon, or in my case a baby spoon. This is a 380 shell casing. I will show you what we're going to do with that later. A magnet. This makes separating the stainless steel pins a lot easier. And then of course the stainless steel pins, I get mine from bullseyereloading.com. I bought the small 2.5 bag. It's the 0.477 pellet pins. They are big enough where they will not go through the primer hole, so you don't have to worry about them getting stuck in there. And then just some water. I'll show you some of the optional equipment here next. Alright guys, one of the optional accessories that I like to use is this small little bread oven. Really helps to dry the brass when I take it out of the tumbler. You don't necessarily have to use this. It just seems to speed up things for me, and a lot of times I like to go straight from cleaning my brass to reloading, so this helps do that. If you don't have one of these, you can just place your brass on a sheet pan, place it out in the sun on your driveway or on your back deck, or you can place it in front of a fan for a little while. Either of these will work just fine. Alright guys, like I said, I like to decap my brass prior to wet tumbling it. That way the primer pockets get all nice and clean. It's not necessary to do this, just depends on how clean you really want your brass. You absolutely don't have to do this, but I like to make all of my brass just as clean as possible, because as we all know, the cleaner brass shoots better, right? So I'll just show you what I do. I take the powder tube off of my Dillon Square DLB and just run through the motion as normal, so that way I don't have to worry about taking the brass out of each station, and it's just that quick. So after that, we'll go and start getting all the tumblers all ready. Alright guys, this is where I weigh out everything. I just take my tumbler, put it on my scale, and go ahead and tare it to 0. And I will take my stainless steel pins, bring this to about 1 pound. If you're 1/8 of an ounce, 1/4 of an ounce off, it's really no biggie. I'm one of those guys that likes to try to get everything just as precise as possible. So after we get that tumbler to 1 pound worth of stainless steel pins. I will put a pound's worth of my brass in. For 9mm, it's roughly 115 to 117 pieces, so you're able to do about 230 pieces of brass per cycle. Not too bad. You can buy bigger tumblers. Thermers has a 5-pound capacity, so you can obviously really load that up. But for me, this was cheap. I got this on sale for, I think after my 20% off coupon and after tax, it came to around $47. The pins cost me $23, $24 shipped right to my house. Limit Shine is a couple bucks. Dawn is a couple bucks, depending on if you have a magnet or not. And that'll probably run you 15 or 16 bucks. I was lucky I had one already. So, and then everything else, just a few, a colander. You can get that at the dollar store or Dollar Tree for $1. So try to get a bigger one. It'll really save you time later on. So after you get a pound's worth of brass in there, just fill the remaining weight up to 3 pounds. A little over, but that's okay. And so now that tumbler is pretty much ready. I'll do the same on the next tumbler and be right back. Alright, so I've got both my tumblers to fill it up with water, brass, and stainless steel pins. Each tumbler weighs approximately 3 pounds. The only step left before we tumble is to add the Lemon Shine and the Dawn dish soap. If you go with the granular style, all that I use is a little 380 brass filled with it. That's all that you need. It's very, very little. So I mean, that bottle there will probably last me a lot. If you go with the liquid, I usually don't measure it out. I just give it a quick squirt, and that's all there takes for that. With the Dawn dish soap, like I said, just a little quarter teaspoon worth, or in my case a baby spoon worth. Just slosh that around. Just one enough to get some suds going on there. Alright, so after that, all you have to do is button everything up, put them on the tumbler, and I'll show you how to do that next. Alright guys, really all that's left to do is put the lids, washer, and the screw on here. Pretty simple. Just want to make sure that you get a real nice tight fit. So I'll put the rubber gasket lid on first, and the aluminum lid on top of that. And I really like to press it down and get all the good corners in there, so that way you get a good solid seal. You shouldn't have any gap in between there. Put your washer and your screw nut on top. And I usually just hand tighten it, and then take my pliers and just ratchet it down until it doesn't move anymore. I've noticed that sometimes if I only hand tighten it, the lids will get loose and we'll get a little bit of leaking in there. So really all that's left to do now is put them in the tumbler, and I have mine set on a 2-hour timer, so I can turn it on and let it go. Normally, I will tell you this is on the ground, but for video purposes, I'm setting it up here. So just get her going. Push, and we'll come back in 2 hours, and I'll show you the rest of the process. I thought I would mention, when you do buy your stainless steel pins, before you use them to tumble your brass, you want to tumble them just with Dawn dish soap all by themselves. I did mine for a couple of hours just to remove all the grease and oil when it goes through the extruder and gets cut off. You don't want any of that stuff contaminating your brass. Ask me how I know, and well, you'll see the results. Nothing permanent, you just have to redo your batch again. The brass comes out just a real dark, dull color, and it's not very attractive at all. Still clean them, just you didn't get that high sheen. So make sure when you're when you get your pins that you go ahead and just give them a quick wash and a rinse, and then you'll be all set to go. Alright, so our tumblers ran for about 2 hours, and now we're going to show you all the gunk that is associated with the dirty brass. Now normally I do this upstairs in my sink. I put a washcloth over the drain, so that way none of the stainless steel pins accidentally get washed down, but the sink is currently in use. So I'm going to do the bucket method. Whatever's easiest for you, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Both work. You just want to make sure that you get the brass good and rinsed out. So I'm just going to open these up. We're going to dump the contents into a bucket, and I'll show you all the dirty water that's been accumulated. So take our colander here and dump our first tumbler in there. Alright, take our second one. As you can see, that water is just chocolate brown. So the colander that I have will accommodate both barrels, which is really nice. So that way I can rinse everything all at once. And I always like to put just a little bit of water in my tumblers, swish it around just so I get all the rest of the stainless steel pins out of them. Not necessary, but again, I like to make sure it's all in there. So as you can see, that water is just dirty brown. Give it a little shake, get most of that dirty water out of there. Alright, so then I've got another bucket here that is filled up with water. As you can see, I'm just going to shake it around, get as much as that dirty water out of there. Just like that. That's all that you really want to do. Alright, shake it to dry, and then I come over here and I'll just place it on a towel. That way it just kind of dries a little bit, and I will get set up to show you the next part. We'll be right back. Alright, so now all that's really left to do is to separate the stainless steel pins from the brass. There are many ways of doing this. If you have a media separator, you can dump all that in there, give it a spin, and that would do it. You can build your own media separator if you wanted. Since I'm kind of trying to do this on the cheap, I literally do mine by hand. I'll just dump everything out, get all the pins out of the colander, because they'll get caught underneath this lip, so just give it a little tap. Alright. And then comes the magnet and the plastic bag trick. You put the magnet inside the plastic bag. It'll make separating really easy. So I will usually just separate them into one of my tumblers. All that I do is I just hold it on there, kind of sift through it, take out the brass, and then you invert the bag and you take off the magnet, and you can easily dump all of your pins wherever you want them to go. So neat little trick there to save you some time from pulling all the pins out, and I'll do that 3 or 4 times, however long it takes for me to get the majority of the pins. I won't obviously get all the pins this way because they will be inside the cases, but I can get the majority of them that way. So I'll do this. As you can see, sometimes they get stuck in the bag, so they'll get stuck to the magnet. Real easy to take them off. Yeah, I got turned on to this tumbling process by a bunch of people on the handloaders.com website. I like shiny things. I like to make it look like I know what I'm doing when I'm reloading, and this really just makes your brass look just, like I said, almost brand new, and it's amazing. So we've got just about all the loose pins. I like to give the brass a quick tumble with my hand, that way the loose ones will fall out of there. If they're still wet, a lot of times they'll still stick, and so I do a manual inspection of each shell casing prior to my drying technique. You definitely want to make sure that you get all the stainless steel pins out of your brass. If you happen to skip one and you try to reload with it still in the casing, it will more than likely jam up your press. Hopefully it won't ruin it, but just depends on how hard you're pressing down on your lever. It could definitely break something. Alright, so I'm just running the magnet over the last remaining few pins. And we will go to manual inspection next. So what I like to do is, if you kind of scoop them up like this, a lot of them will face up, so you can quickly look inside them, make sure there's nothing in there, and then I put them in a aluminum pan there that will then go into my little oven that I showed you earlier. You can put it on a sheet pan if you wanted, and place a fan in front of it for a couple of hours, or you can place the sheet pan on your garage floor, or your driveway, or somewhere in the sun, and let the sun dry them. This way just works quicker for me, and I really enjoy doing it this way, just a lot quicker. So sometimes you will get a stuck piece in there. Just take a little screwdriver. What happens is they get stuck in there sideways. It wasn't stuck in the primer pocket, but it got stuck lengthwise in the casing. So I will finish doing all this and come back and show you the last couple steps, and then show you our end results. Alright, so as you can see, just before we get to the drying process, that's what your shell cases should look like. The insides of the cases, the primer pocket, nice and clean, no residue on there. All that's left to do is to dry them, and like I said, I like to use this little oven here. Works real great for my purposes. So I'll put them into this aluminum pan, and I'll put it in here, and have it usually set between 150 and 175, just depends on how quickly I want to get this done. And this has a 15-minute timer, so I will do this 2 times, so 30 minutes total. And then there's only one last step, and that's to lube the cases just before I reload. Alright, I thought I'd show you real quick if you didn't want to use an oven. Just again, any type of holder for your brass. Stick it in front of the fan. I usually lift the back end of mine up so it faces more downward, and then just turn it on and walk away. Just leave for a couple of hours. You'll know when it's done. So just real simple. I mean, that's all there is to that. Alright, so it's been a couple of hours in front of the fan and in the oven, and then the brass is completely dry. It's shiny, it's clean, both inside and in the primer pockets. You're good to start reloading now. However, I like to do one more step prior to anything else. I will dump all of my brass into this giant bag, and I like to use Hornady's one-shot gun cleaner and dry lube to lube my brass. There's just a world of difference between reloading with unlubed brass versus lubed brass. You can use really just about any type of brass lube. I've heard of people making their own with lanolin and 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. This was just easy. It was $10 at Cabela's, and I'm not sure how much to use this, but this has been what I've been doing, and I've had great results. Is I'll just flatten the brass out and give it about 5 squirts from left to right. Kind of hold it up and just mix it up. Then just to be sure everything's good, I'll do 2 or 3 more sprays and repeat the process. After that, I'll just put it in my brass container here, and it's ready to go. So hopefully you guys found this video useful and informative. Appreciate any feedback or maybe even a subscription or 2 from anybody, but that's my process, and I hope you guys enjoy wet tumbling and getting your brass just as clean as I do.